Salam dostlar, Agile mövzusunda növbəti podkastımızda qarşınızdayıq. Bu müddət ərzində sizlərə ümumi Agile anlayışı və Agile idarəetmənin incəliklərindən danışmışıq. Bugünkü podkastımızı əsasən Agile və ümumiyyətlə rəqəmsal transformasiyalar zamanı diqqət ediləcək 5 sütundan biri olan texniki mükəmməlliyin və test əsaslı proqramlaşdırma təcrübəsinin Agile transformasiya nəticələrinə, eləcə də çevikliyə töhfələrini həsr etmişik. Beləliklə, qonağımız Serbiyalı texniki coach, arxitektor, test əsaslı və davranış əsaslı proqramlaşdırma üzrə peşəkar ekspert və məsləhətçi kimi tanınan və texniki məsləhət xidmətləri təklif edən Optimum şirkətinin təsisçisi Valentina Cupacdır. Ümid edirik hamınız üçün həm maraqlı, həm də faydalı olacaq. Hi Valentina.
Hi, I'm really happy to be part of this session. Really looking forward to it.
Good. Thank you for accepting our invitation and not hesitating to share your experience to raise awareness on technical excellence, clean architecture, test-driven development, and behavior-driven development. I will kindly ask you to give a brief information about yourself to our audience, and later we'll start with our first question.
Great. So I'm a founder at Optimum, and I work as a technical coach, helping software development companies to increase the quality of their software delivery and essentially to accelerate delivery. My key focus is on using quality technical practices, specifically focusing on test-driven development and clean architecture to help companies achieve both quality and speed, because in the end, as Uncle Bob said, there is no trade-off between quality and speed. So actually, the higher quality you achieve, the more faster you can go. So essentially, I help companies introduce technical excellence into their teams, and this directly helps the companies to actually achieve true agility. So that's a short intro.
Thank you for a short but very rich introduction. So I hope from after this introduction, our audience, our colleagues are just guess what they should expect from this podcast and what they will be benefiting from our negotiation. Thank you once again, and I'm slightly moving to the first question. So before we move to technical excellence topic, I would like to get your viewpoint on agility. First of all, what is agility from your perspective, and what are the key principles of this issue?
That's an excellent question, and I think it's important to actually start off with the definition and actually a shared understanding of what is agile, because a company can't actually become agile if they don't know what it is exactly, and that's actually the first part where, for example, transformations may fail. The two key principles, starting off with the first principle, it's about being able to continuously deliver valuable software. And that's the essence of agility. Now here we see two key aspects. One is the mention of continuous delivery. The other aspect is valuable software. Now, valuable software, that's about, did we find the right product market fit? Are we getting feedback from the users? Does the software provide value? And that's the business aspect of agility. So we can say business agility. But the other aspect, being able to continuously deliver, is actually a consequence of applying the right technical practices. So continuous delivery is essential to be technically agile. So I would say the very first principle of agility sums it up, being able to continuously deliver valuable software. That's the essence. Unfortunately, sometimes many companies, everyone in their job advertisement says that they are agile, in all their marketing materials, they're agile, but they are actually failing on the very first principle.
Yes, we are agile, we are doing agile, but what is agility? We don't feel that. That's
correct.
The main issue. You're right. The very important point you touched regarding failing transformations. So as we know, adopting agile and being, as you said, saying I'm agile is trend nowadays, and everybody thinks they will solve most or all of their problems via agile. And if we accept this, do some, how to say, ceremonies or practices of Agile without just giving enough attention to principles, as you mentioned before, principles and values behind it, we will solve all our problems. But after a short while, such transformations fail. I would kindly ask you to speak a bit about this problem, just failing or failed agile transformations, and the key root causes behind that.
Yes, this is an excellent topic because many companies are undergoing agile transformations with really big promises that agile is essentially a silver bullet, that it will help them, go to market faster, increase customer satisfaction, and basically raise profits. So what happens is that CEOs, CFOs, CTOs, they are buying into agile transformation with the promise of these results. The way that most agile transformations are done, the company basically introduces an agile coach into the company. The agile coach is basically the first implementer of, for example, Scrum, which is the currently dominant framework of Agile. So introducing the ceremonies, sprint planning, review, retrospective, daily stand-ups, etc. Introducing some kind of tools to help, like Jira or alternatives, and focusing on the mechanics of how to write user stories, bugs, etc. So basically, it boils down to a very procedural implementation of Agile, just the process aspects of Agile. And yes, it does focus on the human factors. So, for example, Agile coaches do try to help with team dynamics, and retrospectives do help the team to get feedback, within themselves. Also other aspects like definition of done also helps the team come to some kind of common ground in terms of understanding what's the meaning of done. The other also benefit that companies get from this kind of agile transformation is better collaboration with the business. So they might be more, open communication between the developers and business. And then what happens is during the first month, second month, third month, the company does get benefits. It's definitely in a better state than before. I mean, the state before was there was a wall between business and developers. Well, now that wall has been broken down. There's now better teamwork, getting better feedback from business. So the company does get improvements. But what's the big problem? After those, as I said, 2 or 3 or 6 months, the delivery starts to slow down. So even though business has good ideas and this feedback is being communicated to developers, the actual development team is not able to sustainably deliver. Yes, they were fast during the first sprint or the 2 sprints or the first 5 or 10 sprints. And then suddenly they're not able to deliver releasable software at the end of the sprint. And then you have a gap. Then you can only deliver every 2 sprints, every 3 sprints. Then it goes to 3 months, 6 months, a year. And then we come back to actually waterfall. And the company then essentially introduces
incremental waterfall.
Yes, essentially that's basically it. The company then has to introduce QA sprints, bug fixing sprints. So you actually end up with a really phased approach. The other also challenge is that the team stops delivering business value. Because what happens is when we get a drop in quality, there's more percentage of bugs to be solved during the sprint, therefore less time for user stories. And then we get more and more bugs, less and less user stories. Now, in the end, the only thing that's actually delivering incremental business value is the user stories. When the team reaches a point that all they're doing is bug fixes, during that whole time, they're actually not delivering business value. So the
Valentina, you are so right. It's really a big problem. Even I observe in teams I'm working with to keep the balance in user stories, new developments. I mean, or at least adjustments to some developments, bug fixing and support, or just must issues, could issues, should issues. Some teams tend to work on must requirements for 3 or 4 months without providing any exciters or other how to say, making other just functionalities that will make the customer say, yes, you have this feature that I will not get from other market players. So it's very hard, and difficult, and intangible point in agility to catch for teams to be really how to say, in demand and really agile. You're right. Sorry for interrupting, but I wanted to complement this part.
I want to also add on to what you mentioned. Sometimes when companies are going to agile transformations, they still retain the old mindset of upfront requirements. So, and thinking of the whole system as a set of features, and then classifying must-have features, should-have features, nice-to-have features, and then saying for the next 3 or 6 months, we will be working on this long list of must-have requirements, and then release. Well, that one is again also back to
yes,
waterfall.
Again, incremental waterfall with small iterations.
Exactly, but the scope remains fixed, and that's actually the key essence. If the scope has already been predetermined for the next 6 months or a year, and there's no adaptability, that there's no actually getting feedback from users, then that's actually not what Agile is.
At this point, just thanks for just how to say a broad enough response to the first questions, and just all-sided comments for each how to say facets of the problem. At this point, I would like to just bring to the floor, to the stage, sorry, another issue. Just sometimes I hear from some colleagues that we have adopted Agile and we're doing Agile, but we have not invested in CI/CD or test-driven development practices. We don't need them. Why do we need CI/CD or any DevOps pipelines? We're Agile, we're doing our incremental and iterative developments, and we're getting feedback. So we don't need such technical overheads, headaches. So I would kindly ask you to touch this point. Do we really need CI/CD and test-driven development practices, or it's not necessary?
This is an excellent question, and I think that this really drills down to the essence of the problem. The way that many people understand agility, and this is caused due to sales and marketing associated with agility, is only from the business lens of agility. Now, it is true, in order to be agile, a part of satisfying agility is about delivering valuable software. So it is about the business, it is about getting the feedback, and it is about reacting on the feedback. So if a team is satisfying those aspects, that it's listening to users and acting upon that feedback, then the team is satisfying that part of agility. And this goes back to the first principle. It's about delivering valuable software. But then the other statement, which is also in the first principle of the Agile Manifesto, is actually continuously delivering valuable software. And unfortunately, that's the part.
Satisfy the customer by delivering continuously. Yes, exactly.
Correct. Because here's the thing. If we remove continuous delivery, we could have delivery, every 6 months or 12 months, we could be delivering valuable software. I mean, no one's to say that necessarily in waterfall, no one delivered valuable software. But the issue is that the cycle is too long. So the business is getting delayed profits due to the delayed delivery of business value. And furthermore, business may lose to other competitors who were able to release valuable software earlier than them. So if a company, if two companies are both listening to user feedback, and so both have achieved the business agility, but if one company, it takes them months to do a delivery, so they're far from continuous delivery, whereas the other one is continuously delivering.
Yes.
The one that's continuously delivering is able to actually get a higher
exactly.
profit.
It keeps the customer from competitive advantage and from its early ROI, and at the same time, it keeps the customer from timely early feedback to change and adjust what's not right or what can be better. So you're right. We are delaying our delivery. We are losing everything, almost everything that is promised by agility.
Correct. And this part which you mentioned about competitive advantage, I mean, that's also in the second principle of the Agile manifesto. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. So we go back to the topic of competitive advantage. The one aspect is the competitive advantage, and the other difference is in the feedback cycle. Because the shorter that our iterations are, the faster we can get feedback, the faster we can react, and we can also prevent losing money on essentially developments which actually have low business value. So even though, as I said, both of these companies, but just the differences in the delivery cycle, the one with a longer delivery cycle, they have much, aside from losing profits, losing competitive advantage, they also have much more risk. They don't know whether what they deliver in months will be valuable enough.
The long risk curve, yes.
Yeah, and this is the first part. I mean, I wanted to spend, this to actually, differentiate why we need continuous delivery.
Okay.
Now, the next part is, as you asked in your question, why does someone need CI/CD and TDD? And here I will explain it in terms of how it directly relates to achieving continuous delivery. Basically, with the conclusion that you can't achieve continuous delivery without CI/CD and TDD. Okay. And I mean, any company that actually can understand this, they will be at a massive advantage. So let's go back to, CI/CD. CI/CD, so continuous integration, essentially involves, that we need to have build automation and we need to have test automation. So we need to know that our software is essentially in a working state at any given point in time. So this means if someone says, do you trust your software right now? Is it working correctly? A team which actually has proper continuous integration, they will say yes.
Yes.
We're confident. We feel safe. And so that's the CI part of CI/CD. Now the CD part is about being able to ship to production at any point in time. Now that requires essentially the deployment of automation. Automation of deployment reduces the deployment time, and it also eliminates any errors involved in deployment. So just to summarize, CI/CD requires by definition that we need build automation, test automation, and deployment automation.
Yes.
So CI/CD practices are needed in order to achieve continuous delivery, because continuous delivery means that the software is in a shippable state. And as Martin Fowler nicely wrote in one of his articles, it means that business can come in right now and say, we're going to production. Yeah. And that no one should blink an eyeball. Like it should just be an ordinary event.
Oh, we have to do some tests for a few weeks, yeah? The
Exactly.
team should not say such words. Yes, exactly.
Exactly. If the team, now a team which does not have CI/CD, now most companies they are using tools which are called CI/CD tools, and this is where there's a bit of a confusion. So someone who has Jenkins or AWS or pipelines or stuff like that, they say we are doing CI/CD just because they have the tool. Now they are using it only for build automation. If they don't have test automation and if there's no deployment automation, you can't have just build automation by itself. So what happens is when when these teams need to deliver to production, there's a long process. First of all, they say we've done a whole heap of feature delivery development. We could have, of course, broken features because that's the key problem in software development: maintenance cost, regression bugs. So then developers need to do regression testing. Then it gets handed over to QA engineers who do regression testing. Then the QA finds bugs, reports it to developers. Developers do bug fixing. When they fix those bugs, in the meantime, they've created other bugs. So then it goes back to the QA, and we have this repeated.
We have a cycle. Yes, just
we have a cycle.
I will return to this topic, but like XP cycle, development cycle. Yeah, just a very important point you touched. So if we speak about continuous integration and continuous deployment, we don't have to look the company's technical equipment or supplies. We have to look at their behaviors and practices. So if I have some systems or some hardware or some supplies, it doesn't mean that I'm just a CI/CD equipped company. If I'm not, as you told, do some automated continuous integration with short iterations, just timely and how to say in place testings to catch bugs early enough and do timely deployments automatically. So that's very important, because sometimes I also observe some companies that they have their I don't know, Jira's or their Azure DevOps systems. They have their CI/CD pipelines, but just very ruthless problems regarding automated tests. Regressions, integrations, load tests, etc. So even their developers don't know what is regression test, or why do they need unit tests just for their. I have even some developers think that they have to make some changes in the rail base directly, not in the test space or test environment or etc. So that's very important point. So as we came to this part, I would kindly, you slightly just touch this point, this topic when speaking about CI/CD and its how to say advantages. But I will once again ask you just how we can benefit from test-driven development, and how can test-driven development help us in our agility, ensuring our agility.
Okay, that's the second part. Now, as we know from the CI/CD part, we mentioned in order to actually claim that a company has CI/CD practices, we need build automation, test automation, and we need deployment automation. Now, this is where we get to the part of test automation. How do we accomplish test automation? There's two ways that someone can get to automated tests. One approach is test-driven development, which means we write an automated test representing executable specifications, write some code, check that the test passes, we can do refactoring, check that the test passes, move on to the next requirement, implement, write a test, write code, etc. So that's the test-driven approach. And the result of test-driven development, test-driven development is a whole big topic. in itself. So it's about actually you're starting off with executable specifications. It helps you, make testable design, but I'm not going to go into those details now. I will just simply mention the point that a side effect of using test-driven development is you get automated tests. So you're satisfying that your checkbox. Yes, you do have test automation. So you're satisfying the criteria for CI/CD. But there's another way that companies can work. And in fact, many other companies are working, which is test-less development, the opposite to TDD, whereby someone writes code and then writes the tests. Now, it's not defined when they will write tests. So if I write some code, I may write then a test immediately after, which not many developers do. I may postpone it for days. I may say, well, I will wait. I want to do some further feature development. Then I will write the tests at the end of the sprint, saying I'm almost done, or saying I'm done, but all I have is the tests remaining. So that kind of attitude. So then it gets postponed for a few days till end of the sprint. And then end of the sprint comes. Everyone's, of course, under pressure. And then, well, the tests are optional. So we didn't get to make the test, so we will just postpone it to the next sprint. And then those kind of teams, they will have only a small subset of their actual functionality covered by automated tests, and the rest of the functionality, it has no automated tests. That company has to do manual regression testing. They don't have a test automation suite. They can't trust their test automation suite. So here's the difference. And someone would need to have, as I said, maybe a really high level of discipline to achieve, the guarantee that tests will exist with test-less development. So the difference is, in test-driven development, you're starting with tests. For every development, tests naturally are a natural consequence, whereby in test-less development, tests something you chase after, tests something secondary, tests something that you will do when you have time. In other words, you will never do it. You will never have time for testing. So it's a complete difference in mindset, how it affects the developers. So just to summarize, with test-driven development, you have a guarantee that you will satisfy that condition, test automation, within CI/CD. Whereas with test-less development, you do not have such a guarantee at all. So this is why, again, as Martin Fowler wrote in his article, test-driven development is the best way to achieve, test automation, a self-validating build. But that's not the only reason why, test-driven development, enables us to be agile. Okay, yes, it does satisfy that aspect. But here's the other part. A test-driven development, the tests are executable specifications. A developer, when you have to start off with writing an executable specification of a behavior or functionality, it forces you to think about, do you actually know what the system should do? And the developer might then discover, I actually have no idea.
Acceptance criteria, yes. And that's exactly the very exact point, because I just personally how to say, encounter such situations that at the end of the sprint, the developers, the business or the product owner says that that was not the exact acceptance criteria, but the developers say that now we understood that this criteria is this way. So you're right. If you write the test before based on the acceptance criteria, we have no or at least less possibilities that we understand acceptance criteria not correctly. So that's a very important point. Yeah.
Exactly, because actually the tests are derivable from the acceptance criteria. Now, this brings, since you mentioned acceptance criteria can be written in a really generic way. Like, for example, I'm not sure, an order price is the sum of the individual item prices, but there's a discount if it's, Tuesday. Now that kind of statement, it's written in a general way, it will have misinterpretations. But when someone is forced to convert that general statement into actual examples, that in one example it says, a customer has made an order, for apples, bananas, they cost this and this much, and they've made the order on Monday. And then another test case, as I said, writing acceptance criteria in this testable way, saying, okay, they've made the order on Tuesday. These examples then minimize miscommunication between business and developers, and these kind of example-based specifications are directly translated to the actual tests. So this means, as you mentioned, there's much less of a mismatch, and it constantly forces the developer to think about what they're actually building. I've had cases where developers don't understand what they're supposed to build. So it's not even misinterpretation. They don't even go deeper to understand what they're building. They see their job, I will code up something, it will work. They have no idea what the expected behavior is. They code something. In the end, they try to manually debug and say, I actually have no idea what this is supposed to do. So it's like wasted time. So just to summarize, so this whole thing of writing tests before code helps everyone, be on the same line between requirements. The other aspects also of test-driven development is the iterative and incremental nature of it. Because here's the thing. Someone can write all tests first and then write all the code. That's not test-driven development. I mean, that's badge-based test first. Test-driven development is you iteratively, you write test for some, executable specification, you implement it, you refactor, then you move on to the next test. So it's iterative and incremental. It actually causes the developer, instead of attempting to build everything all at once in an upfront way, to actually work in an incremental and iterative way. And that's where you get agility to its fullest.
Okay. Just the final, just last words triggered me with the next question. So by now we talked about incremental and iterative development, continuous development, getting feedback sprint by sprint, having downs at the end of the sprint. Not only, but mostly, this just practice is not only, but mostly based on Scrum. So or Scrum practices, I mean. So is Scrum enough for being agile, for agility, or as you mentioned during your latest words, you just test, execute, refactor, then other QA practices? Do we need extreme programming, or just it is extreme programming is just nice to have? So if we have Scrum, it's enough for us to be agile. I would kindly ask you, like a technical code, like an architecture, like an IT, how to say, consultant, to show your perspective for this question. So, do we need XP, or just it's like additional add-on for our agility?
Yes, this is another excellent topic. Many companies, they equate Agile with Scrum. So if someone says we're doing Scrum, then everyone automatically says this is an Agile organization. Or if someone says they're an Agile organization, then Scrum is implied. Now, Scrum itself, it solves one part of the puzzle. I would say Scrum is great in terms of business agility, because Scrum, for example, defines the role of the product owner, who is supposed to think about, you have someone thinking about the product vision, you have sprints, that there's timed intervals that you get feedback from the users, and that, you adjust then the backlog prioritization for the next sprint based on feedback. That part is great. And that part is helps teams, to think about business value and about getting feedback. So that one is satisfying the part of building valuable software. And as a general framework, I would say that's part of the reason why Scrum is widely spread. It helps the team, to have focus, certain goal of what value is to be delivered for the next
sketch a
sprint.
process frame and just to how to say define interfaces between stakeholders. So that's the important part. Yeah.
Correct. So I would say Scrum is great in that regards, and Scrum helps the team to work more, effectively. It solves the organizational and process issues, and it helps, the team to have that whole mindset of having a shared goal and of getting feedback and then using that for, the next sprint. But there's a black box. What will the team be doing during the sprint? I mean, aside from, okay, one is the business aspect, okay, what they will be doing, but how will they be building it? Because here's the thing: if someone maybe wants to build a house or a car, okay, you specify, okay, what the result is, but how will those people who are building it actually build it? And how they're building it has impact on quality, and quality affects your future capacity to be able to continue delivering in those sprints. Now, that's the big black box, which Scrum, it's simply outside of the bounds of Scrum. Scrum does not deal with how the software will be built. And that's where XP comes in.
Yeah, excellent, how to say, comment. You say Scrum just covers all questions that where, who, when, why, etc. But the only how is covered by XP, which is not by quality and deeply covered in Scrum. Good point. So very simplest, the very simplest way of describing the difference or this interrelation between Scrum and XP so far. Thank you.
Yes. I mean, as I said, so I never say like Scrum is bad or Scrum is good. Scrum
no, it's not the main point, which is better, which is or worse. It's the point. All of them, just agile frameworks and other methodologies, Kanban or others, they complement each other's, and when you tailor them in under one umbrella, you can get, if you are very attentive, you can get an excellent mixture. But the point was what is how to say the function of which. So your just simplest description in like daily words, not technical words. This questions comes from this framework, and mainly this question comes from this frame. So that's a very important. I like that.
Yeah, it's essentially it's beyond the scope of Scrum, and the Scrum guide will never actually handle how software will be built. Now, XP, Extreme Programming, as founded by Kent Beck, has actually primary focus on the technical aspects. So the technical agility, because practices like pair programming, test-driven development, the whole aspect of continuous integration, later continuous delivery. So all of those ones, they are actually handled by XP. So this means, for example, a team which is using XP practices, they would, aside from all the other practices listed, they would be using test-driven development. They would be continuously integrating, so merging to the main trunk multiple times a day. They would be working in pairs, which means technical knowledge transfer better and a result. Now, XP is not purely technical, even though XP, okay, it does not have sprints per se, but it has that incremental, iterative nature, and talks about customer collaboration, getting feedback, and actually acting on it. So what this means is, if you choose to do XP alone, you can satisfy both business agility and technical agility, because XP involves both factors. Both the customer collaboration and getting feedback, but the technical practice on how. So you can achieve both of them with XP. But with Scrum, if you have Scrum alone and you have no framework or methodology for technical practices, whether XP or something equivalent, then you're missing out on that whole how, black box, and your continuous delivery. You won't be able to actually achieve continuous delivery. So just to summarize, with Scrum alone, you can't be agile. Unfortunately, this is a mistake made by many companies. They do only Scrum and there's no technical practice. So you either need Scrum plus XP. In that way, you can achieve both the business and technical, or you can even have XP itself because it handles both, but you can't have Scrum alone.
So another Agile manifesto principle, continuous focus on technical and design excellence. So guys, no matter you adopt XP fully or partially, or just getting some practices from it, so you will not be fully agile without XP practices. So it's very important to take at least a few practices from XP. Thank you, Valentina. And one more and last question. As a technical coach, I would kindly ask you to recommend us how can we enable how can we make our companies truly agile? How we can achieve true agility? What's your like a prescription with bullet points? Keep on the focus this, and work on these points.
Okay, that's another great question. I'm sure that many viewers would have the exact same question. The first question to ask is, what's the mindset of the company? More specifically, what's the mindset of the upper management? And also, what's the perspective of the people who are in key technical positions of the company? In order to move forward with all of these things that I mentioned, all of these people will need to understand the definition of agility and to understand the need for both business agility aspect, so about delivering valuable software, and the aspect about continuous delivery of valuable software. So continuous delivery, this can only be achieved with technical agile practices. So first, there needs to be a consensus and belief, that understanding that this is agility, and that we want to move in this direction. So no one can force a company. They need to want to go, at least these key people, like as I said, management and people at key technical positions. Now, in terms of actually executing the agile transformation, assuming all of these steps about mindset agreement, I prefer firstly to start with the organizational and process, the non-technical aspects of agile. And this is where I've personally, used the Scrum framework, and do recommend that, it works great. It helps the company, switch in the mindset of thinking about business value, and thinking about prioritizing and getting feedback. And I think that's a really good first step, and working with the teams to be more cohesive. But here's the thing, it can't stop there. Even though that might be the focus of the first, let's say, for certain, I'm talking now about at a team level, let's say the first 3 months, I would put that as the focus, primary focus. But then after that, we have to move to the technical agility aspects, which is about introducing essentially the practice of practices required for continuous delivery. I recommend that firstly teams need to start with some kind of tool for the CI/CD pipeline. So whether it's Jenkins or Azure DevOps or AWS pipelines, anything equivalent. Okay, start off. You need a tool for this, and the first part of it is getting the build automation. At this point, I'm assuming the team does not have any test automation, but okay, let's automate the build. The team gets notifications if the build is broken. Okay, that's the first step. The next step is the test automation. That's the longer road. Like, that's much more harder than introducing the tool, because that one actually involves writing tests. Now, when you have a whole code base, legacy software with no tests,
so it should start after gaining some maturity. Yes, it just like a mindset and other practices like team behavior, incremental development behavior, understanding the necessity of tests, understanding the necessity of automated
yes, the first mindset.
Okay.
I don't go immediately to TDD, because here's the thing. The first question that we're facing is the lack of tests for the existing test suite. So then tests have to be retroactively written. So we're actually writing tests last. It's not TDD because the software already exists. But okay, we're writing tests last. We can use code coverage reports to help us guide. Now, code coverage themselves are, as I said, it's a whole other topic, but as a minimum, code coverage, another helpful aspect for metrics is mutation testing. So code coverage and mutation testing will help the team see all the gaps in the test suite and write the tests, regression tests, essentially, writing tests retroactively. Now, since the team at the same time has to continue delivering new features, they can't stop everything and okay, we're just now going to write automated tests for the next several months. The way that they can choose where to write the tests, because the whole test suite is empty, they can prioritize it so that if they're working on certain features, that then during this sprint, they should ensure that they have test coverage for parts of the code which deals with that feature before implementing the change. So this way you're getting bit by bit, puzzle by puzzle coverage. You're retroactively building your test suite. Now, for the new functionality, the team can adopt a test-driven development approach. So for the new functionality, write the test first and then write the code afterwards. From my experience, I would firstly focus on getting the team to learn the mechanics of testing, specifically unit testing, integration testing, end-to-end, with no TDD for perhaps the 3 months. And then we move on to actually TDD when the team is comfortable with the mechanics. So what I'm saying is it's better to do test last versus test nothing. So start off with test last, move on to test-driven development. So then once we achieve that point, we now have satisfied, okay, both automated build and automated testing. Now, in terms of deployment automation, that one is generally easier to satisfy. That one you can do it early on. So when you do build automation, you can also do deployment automation, but just the test automation part is what can take a longer time. Through this whole thing, the biggest challenges is the mindset change. We really need the senior technical people to be on board with this. So, and this will make or break
proper experience
and mindset. You can have people who have 10 years technical, 10 years experience, 15 years experience, 20 years of experience, and they can tell you, we've built software a certain way up to now, or I'm a great programmer or anything. I'm not going to change. I don't need the CI/CD. I don't need TDD. they can just reject this outright. In those kind of situations, you can't move forward. But if there's mindset, understanding, they want to move in this direction, then the role of a technical agile coach is to help them on the real product to implement these practices. So here, an agile, technical agile coach, they're not doing trainings. These are not demos or katas. It's directly working with the team on real code and
putting this putting these practices, behaviors in real practice or real work. Exactly.
Yes, and team by team. I mean, I would recommend this to be incrementally spread out for the company. So there's no need. Okay, there's no need to start off with 50 teams at once. Start with one team that will be the slowest.
Like pilot.
Correct, and then later you can actually speed up the transition across other teams, because if one team, learns and does it the first time, it's the slowest.
Exchange experiences and give lessons learned, success stories, and etc. And you can put in practice what you have learned from the first pilot team. That's true. Even overall agile transformation is recommended to start with one team to make sure your company agile is a true fit for your company, and you can gain something from that, or you are just doing a wrong investment. That's right.
Correct. You need to see the results.
Yeah.
So from that first team, you need to see the results. They need to be delivering valuable software, and they need to have achieved continuous delivery.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And management should see the benefit of that, and that then serves as a motivation for the subsequent transformation. And even in my work, since I work as a technical coach, my day-to-day work is I'm working with teams on mainly legacy products, mm-hmm. but also greenfield products, and essentially incrementally introducing, retroactive test automation, test-driven development practices. Also for architectures, we didn't talk about architectures, but I guess that's a complete other topic. The need for hexagonal architecture, so it's actually testable architecture. Test-driven development automatically requires testable architectures, and applying all that on a real product, and it takes time. But then those people, the development team, when they see the benefit, because here's the thing, in the end, it should be a win-win, both for the company, in terms of they should be, okay, I guess we can summarize with the benefits. The benefits for the company is financial benefits. So the company is able to release earlier to the market more valuable software. This helps with their sales. By releasing also reliable software, it means less customer complaints, so higher customer satisfaction. So you're getting revenue increases from higher sales. On the other hand, you're simultaneously reducing cost of development. So with these technical practices, you're decreasing the amount of time it takes to build something, and you're reducing its total maintenance costs. So you're increasing revenue, you're decreasing cost, you're increasing the company's competitive position so that it can be successful in the market. You're also increasing employee satisfaction. So you avoid the case whereby, the business people are angry at the development team. Why didn't you deliver? We have a really important, customer, or important deadlines or something like that. So the business people are happier.
Yes.
Developers are also happier.
One of the key targets, pillars of agile transformation, employee engagement. Yes.
Yes, employee engagement. And so aside from business being happy, we also get developers being happy, because these technical practices help them feel safer, less pressure, less stress. They can be much more, get better work, high assurance with much less worry and stress. So just to summarize, it all boils down to the financial benefits. So higher revenue, reduced cost, better market position. So, being able to respond to changes in the market, and you get increased employee satisfaction, both from the business side and employee satisfaction of your development teams. So I think that summarizes the key benefits.
Okay, and generally to summarize, as I understood from your words and all the stuff we talked about, it's possible to do Agile without technical excellence, but it's very how to say, difficult, or maybe if I exaggerate a bit, impossible to be truly agile without technical excellence and applying advanced technical practices. So you can feel agile, you can do agile, but you will not be agile if you have a good technical stuff, a good technical practice behavior, a good technical, how to say, systems. So it's very important. Valentina, what I noticed for a few times, that you paused at some points to get my reaction, but I was looking at you in silence like this, and I'm sure our viewers will also just watch this video with great interest and in silence. So you just shared very valuable thoughts, how to say, points from the start of agility manifesto principles to the end of the company that has get through an agile and digital transformation. So I think that from agile point of view, and I mean mindset and technical point of view, we did not forget any great point, critical points. So thank you for your valuable time and your eagerness to share what you know and what you have gained throughout your experience, technical experience. I would like to give you some final notes, to give you the floor to express your final notes, and we'll wrap up with these final words. Thank you once again. The floor is yours.
Yes, I want to say I'm really happy that we had this opportunity to have this discussion today, because we covered the essence of agility, that agility is not a one-sided coin, it's a two-sided code. You need both the business agility aspect, you need the technical agility aspect, so you need both valuable software, but you also need to deliver it continuously. And if you don't achieve either of those sides, you're not agile. So that's I would say that's the key takeaway, which I'm hoping that viewers will take from this. We also, as you mentioned, went through the points of what does it take to have a successful agile transformation, or what are the factors which cause failed agile transformations. And the summary of that is you need transformation both in the business perspectives, so being responsive to business needs, having that kind of mindset and practice, but at the same time the technical practices are needed, like to achieve continuous delivery, because without continuous delivery you can't have iterative and incremental feedback. So it all, I guess, ties in together. Or ultimately, I guess the key takeaway, we also discussed at the end, the whole benefits. What are the benefits to a company which which successfully executes an agile transformation? It's essentially a company which will win financially, market-wise, in terms of employee engagement, but that it's a long path. It's not an easy path to get there, and it really requires a high level of, it needs mindset from the organizational side, and it needs the company to tackle both the business aspects of agility and the technical aspects. So you can't choose, it's not one or the other. You need both to actually call yourself agile. So it was really great to speak to you. And I'm also looking forward to responses from the viewers. So if anyone has any additional questions or comments, feel free to post here on YouTube, and also looking forward to connecting and networking on LinkedIn, Twitter, also GitHub. So yeah, once again, I want to say really thanks a lot for inviting me. It was really great and valuable to have this conversation.
It's our great pleasure, and I'm really sure that this video, this podcast will set ground for much more valuable and beneficial partnerships in my country, maybe in the region, because our viewers are not only in Azerbaijan. Valentina, thank you once again for your time, and just how to say, for the both sides of the golden coin. Thank you. Belə dostlar, qonağımız Serbiyalı texniki coach, test əsaslı proqramlaşdırma, eyni zamanda təmiz arxitektura üzrə məsləhətçi, Optimum şirkətinin təsisçisi Valentina Cupac idi. Valentina xanım bizə ümumiyyətlə Agile çeviklik, Agile'da texniki mükəmməlliyin rolu və vacibliyi barədə danışdı. Ümid edirik hər birinizə maraqlı oldu görüşümüz. Bütün Agile-ı qəbul etmək istəyən və yaxud da yeni qəbul edən şirkətlər, eləcə də Agile ilə çalışan şirkətlərin IT əməkdaşları üçün və hamınız üçün əminlik ki, maraqlı olacaq. Videonun altında şərh bölümündə suallarınızı, geri bildirimlərinizi, sizin üçün maraqlı olan məqamları, eyni zamanda növbəti podkastlarımızın və videolarımızın mövzularıyla bağlı fikirləriniz bizə maraqlı olacaq. Çox sağ olun, diqqətiniz, gözünüz bizdə olsun.